Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Grab a little fun drink, grab a cozy drink, grab a snack, because today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I want to read this year. I know it's almost September, but my TBR has really grown, and not just like my TBR in general, but my like physical TBR. I just have so many books right now, like physical copy books. We'll start with the biographies or autobiographies or memoirs. The first one is Loud by Afualo. This just came out in July, and I love her so much. I don't know if you guys follow her on TikTok or if you're aware of her or know who she is, but I love her so much and she is so hilarious. So I had to support her. I just also really love the cover of this book. I like that it's hardback. It's super, super cute and I can't wait to read it. I'll probably listen to it on Spotify actually, because she actually reads her own book on Spotify, so you can find her audiobook within Spotify. I just personally, I don't know about you guys, but I love it when the author reads their own book, especially when it's a memoir. The second book, this one I think came out last year in 2023. This is Britney Spears' The Woman in Me. I just love Britney Spears, so same thing. I just wanted to support her when I saw this come out. I still haven't read it yet, but this is on my TBR as well. I have not read it yet, and I'm very curious to see what is in this book or what she talks about. Let's move on to, I wanna save like the juicy stuff for last. So like, let's move on to contemporary historical fiction type books. So this one is called Atalanta, and it is Greek mythology retelling, historical fiction, and that's about as much as I know about this one, but I've just seen it everywhere and I haven't really read a whole lot of Greek mythology. The first one I've read this year was Song of Achilles. I read Song of Achilles this year, and before that I haven't read really any sort of Greek retelling or like, you know, mythological story maybe since the Iliad in high school. So like, these are like, I'm kind of getting into these. I always get sucked into them when I see them on display at a bookstore. I want to get them. I don't know, they just seem so vibey. I just think it's fun to be transported to a different time. So Atalanta is on my list. Atalanta is written by Jennifer Saint as well. I'm trying to remember to list the authors. I'm still new at this. This is my first book talk video. So like, I hope you guys cut me some slack and welcome me into your community, because I love, you know, booktubers, book talk, all of that, just anything books. It's so much fun. So this one I actually got on a book blind date from a local bookstore called The Reading Attic in Marietta Square in Georgia. So this one is a modern mythology, contemporary Greek retelling. It's an urban fantasy, and that's about as much as I know of it. But yeah, I picked it up. It was covered in like wrapping paper, so I had no idea what it was. And that is just so much fun. I don't know, like, I just love the book blind date concept. It's just really fun. So I still have to read this. So both of these are like my Greek vibe, historical fiction, mythology type books. Moving on to a classic, I guess you could put this is definitely fiction. I guess you could call it historical fiction because it's about the past, but this is a literary fiction. It's a classic. It's won a Nobel Prize. It's called The Plague by Albert Camus. And as far as I know, I don't know, I like to go in blind to a lot of these books, so I'm not gonna have a lot of great descriptions for all of them, but I do know that I wanna read this because he is a French author. He writes in French and it gets translated into English, and I took French classes in really all the way from middle school all the way to college. I got a minor in French. So Albert Camus is just an author that I've been wanting to read. I want to challenge myself this year by reading more classics, but not just classics for the sake of reading a classic, but classics that I think will resonate with me. I feel like it's very timely because it's about a plague that breaks out in Algeria, and it kind of shows how everybody responds differently. And so that kind of reminds me of like the 2020 pandemic, and it's also supposed to be an allegory for the German occupation of France. Really excited about this book as a classic. Another sort of classic, this is written by an Italian author named Alba de Céspedes, Forbidden Notebook. This one I started and I was really hooked by the concept. I think it's a feminist piece, or it can be taken as a feminist piece if you want to interpret it that way. But basically this woman in the 1950s Italy, 1950s or 60s Italy, she keeps a private notebook. You kind of follow her train of thought where she's like trying to find hiding spaces for it. She doesn't want her family to know about it. She feels embarrassed. She feels ashamed. Like, she shouldn't need a private notebook for private thoughts. And so it's very interesting. And so far, like, she's not writing anything like super scandalous. It's just like what happened that day with her kids or her husband, and you just learn a lot about her identity and who she is, and it is really good so far. So I'm really glad I picked this one up. Moving more into like contemporary, or well, I guess sort of moving into contemporary literary fiction. This is written in modern times, but it takes place, I think, also in the 50s or 60s. So this is literary fiction, historical fiction, lessons in chemistry. I think most of us have seen this by now, have probably read this already, and I might be behind here, but I did watch the show on Apple TV, Lessons in Chemistry with Brie Larson. This is written by Bonnie Garmus. Yeah, Bonnie Garmus, and it is, the show is so good. I don't know if the book will follow closely to the show or not. From what I remember, just a high level here, if you don't know already, it follows this person who is a chemist. However, she's still sort of being treated as like more of like an assistant. So it kind of goes on from there, and there's like a plot twist where she also becomes like, she really likes cooking because it's also kind of a form of chemistry. And I don't want to spoil too much of that in case you don't know what happens to her, what she goes on to do within this, but I can't wait to actually read the book for this because I've only seen the show so far. And then the last one for literary fiction, this is a contemporary literary fiction. This is called Greta and Walden, and it's written by Rebecca K. Reilly. This one is brother and sister. According to the back, it's how they navigate their queerness, multiracial identity, there's family drama. So I'm really excited about this because I think if we're all being honest with ourselves, we can all relate to family drama. I think everybody has family drama. So it's just nice sometimes to read about other people's family drama and you don't feel quite as alone that, you know, families are messy and people are messy and people are, I mean, I haven't read this yet, but I get the vibe these are going to be very dimensional characters, and learning to hold space for that within yourself and within a family is very hard. So I'm super excited about this. I also really like the brother-sister dynamic because I also have a brother, and we're just very different but very similar, and just seeing how he operates within our family versus me and how we respond to different things throughout our life, like, it's interesting. So I'm very excited about this. All right, so moving on to more like salacious picks. You know, hi, I'm Sam if you're new here, by the way. I meant to do this at the beginning. I am new to YouTube. I so far am mainly like an Atlanta-based foodie. I like to highlight different restaurants within Atlanta, different things to do. I'm also a 30-something professional, so I do work 9 to 5, but I really enjoy YouTubing. It's a hobby for me. I love editing and I love uploading things and being creative, but I also really love books. So, you know, this channel is still like to be defined, and maybe it'll never be defined, and maybe we'll just do what we want here. I might start doing some more bookish type content, or I might sprinkle some in. So that's what this is, because I just really love reading and I love books, and I probably could have a whole other video about how I kind of got into re-entered into reading again. So I read so much. Like, I read 50 books last year, which is a lot for me. I know some people read less, some people read more, number doesn't matter, but just to give you an idea, I'm reading about 50 books a year at this point, so I read a lot. So we're gonna move into my favorite kind of genre. So I do like to read, you know, memoirs and stuff every year, especially people I love or who I find complex and interesting. Contemporary literature and fiction and classic fiction is not a favorite of mine, but I do find myself reading that. My favorite types of books to read are fantasy, romantasy, fantasy, female written fantasy, especially romance, contemporary romance, smut for sure, and also like thrillers. So I think what we'll do is we'll save the thrillers for last, because that's like the fall content. So before we get to that, I'm gonna do the fantasy stuff. But before fantasy, I do have just one romance smutty book. This is called Saint. This is written by Sierra Simone. I picked this up by mistake because I thought it was the second in her series. The first book is Priest, and guys, that book is filthy. It is so filthy. I loved every second of it. But yeah, this one is in that series. It's called the Priest series. So this is book 3. I thought it was book 2, so I still need to read book 2. So the tropes within this book are brother's best friend, forbidden romance, second chance romance, and it's definitely going to be smutty if it's anything like Priest. So I can't wait to read this one. I have this one on paperback that I need to get to. And then moving into fantasy, I've got Pestilence. This is written by one of my favorite authors. Her name is Thalassa. This is the first book in her Four Horsemen series. I have not read this series yet, but I loved her Bewitched series. I just finished Bespelled. That came out this year. I'm waiting for her novella for that series. The Bewitched series is so good. It's my favorite. So I'm curious to see about this. I think I read the other series by her, and it wasn't my favorite. The Bargainer, like the first book was really good, but then like the series itself, I felt like kind of just, it just didn't resonate with me after the first book, Bargainer. I'm curious to see what this series will do for me because I do love Laura Thalassa. I love how she writes. I think if you like Sarah J Maas, you will love Laura Thalassa. But yeah, this is supposed to be romantasy set in like a post-apocalyptic dystopian world, and it's like the Four Horsemen of Death. So excited about that one. That's also kind of smutty. I'm gonna go ahead and say this will probably be smutty. Probably not as filthy as this, but like, you know, it's gonna have a lot of romance, or so I hope. The next book is a book that came out this year, earlier this year, called Bride by Ali Hazelwood. My friend let me borrow this. I have had it for almost a year. I have to give it back to her. But this is going to be a vampire romance, arranged marriage, enemies to lovers, forced proximity. I don't know why I haven't read it yet. I feel like it has everything I need in it, and I haven't read it yet, so I need to get to this. Bride, I think I might be one of the last people who haven't read this yet. So most people have probably already read this, so let me know if you liked this book down below and what you thought. Let me know honestly about all of these books, like if there's, you know, any thoughts you have on any of the books that I've shown, or if you've read them, or if you know, do or don't like them, or any favorite quotes. Like, please feel free to comment them below and like interact with me, because I just want to try to connect with other like bookish people. So the next book I'm really excited about is called Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer Armentrout. I knew it was Armentrout. I couldn't remember her first name. This is the sequel in the Blood and Ash series. The first book is From Blood and Ash. I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the romance more than the fantasy. It's not my favorite fantasy novel in terms of like the fantasy elements, but I really, really like the main male character. Like, he is scrumptious. I love him so much, and I really like the main character as well. She is also really great, very fierce, complex. So I'm reading the second book. I like just started it, and we will see. I just really love a good romantasy series, and I'm pretty sure there's like, I don't know, close to like 20 books. Like, she's got a few of different series that all cross over in this world. So I think there's a lot of books in this series or with these types of characters. So I'm very excited to see where this goes, but I'm enjoying it mainly so far with the romance side of it. And then the last two within romantasy or fantasy romantasy is, I don't know which one of these is actually first. I think this is the first book in the series. So this is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I've heard really good things about this, and I bought the first one and I bought the second one without reading the first one yet. Second one is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So I own both of these. I bought them at 2 separate times, hence why we have this issue. I can't stand this. It's gonna bother me. I'm very OCD. But yes, I do have both of these books, and I cannot wait to read both of them. I'm pretty sure these are also like vampire tropes and motifs in this, so I'm very excited about these. I really don't know anything else past that. Okay, moving on to the last like set of books for my physical TBR, and these are gonna be like fall, autumn vibe, thriller type situation. First one is The Dead Romantics. This is written by Ashley Poston. This was also a blind date with a book that I bought, so it was covered. I had no idea what it was going to be about. And this was also from the Reading Addict and the Marietta Square in Georgia. So I'm excited to read this. I think this is going to be like someone who no longer believes in love, based off of what I read on the back. This is about someone who, you know, believes romance is dead, and then I think there's going to be some sort of paranormal element. Maybe she's going to reconsider her stance on love. Maybe she'll find some love. I have no idea. But I know that she's also like a writer. Oh yeah, Florence Day is the ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry, and she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she no longer believes in love, it's as good as dead. So I don't want to say too much about this because I don't know a lot about it, but B, I like to go in blind, but I think there's going to be some sort of like ghostly kind of situation here, and I think that's super fall. The next book is called Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. This is vampires, historical fiction, Western, United States Western. Magical realism is going to happen in this, and it's also like supposed to be kind of scary. I think it's also very Mexican Gothic. I feel like this is the perfect, like all of those ingredients are like just the perfect like little like brew, and I'm so excited for this book. This came out I think in 2023 and I bought it last year and I still have to read it. I'm very, very excited about this. I'm having high hopes about it, so let me know if anyone knows about this book because no one in my circles has read it, so I'm curious about it. This is The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. The main character is immortal. It's historical fiction. Someone described it online as horror. There's going to be some vampire elements to this as well. I heard really good things about this both in person and online. Then moving on to like more thriller type books, I've got Stephen King's Holly. This is I think going to follow, I know Holly because I've read Holly in a former book of his. He had a short story about Holly, and she is sort of like a paranormal detective. So not so much in the sense of like, oh, is your house haunted? Let's go check if it's got spirits. More of like, there was a murder and no one knows who did it, and she can track down that it was like some sort of demonic thing or like some sort of creature or entity that like normal investigators would not consider. This one, I really liked that story, the short story. So I'm excited about like this whole dedicated book to her. And then I've got Locust Lane. This is written by Stephen Amidon, and this one is just mystery, thriller, crime. Again, going in pretty blind. I got this pretty cheap secondhand bookstore, so I had to pick it up. I love these types of books. Any sort of like murder mystery, sign me up. It's the best. So I'm reading that. And then the last book of my physical TBR is by an author that I really love, Reilly Sager, Middle of the Night. I had no idea this was even coming this year. So like I say I'm a big fan of Reilly Sager, but I was also completely broadsided. I had no idea. I had no idea until I saw it in Target and I was walking around. I was like, I'm sorry, did he just drop a book? And I just had no idea. So I love this. There's another book I have on my shelf written by him called Only One Left. That one was really good. I forget the name, but I'll put it here, of another Reilly Sager book because it's something with a lake and I'm gonna mess it up. That book is my favorite Reilly Sager book. Final Girls was really good, but that for some reason, this book, it just scratches every itch. I don't want to even say, but like it's grounded in reality. It's a crime murder mystery, but then there's like a little bit of a paranormal twist, and I like paranormal, but the whole book wasn't paranormal. So it was perfect blend of like true crime, real life, but also like, you know, there's like a mix of like something in the ether, kind of almost like Sixth Sense. Like that feels very grounded in reality, but yet you have something kind of going on that also is playing a role within that. So I'm curious to see what Middle of the Night is about. I have absolutely no idea, and I can't wait to read it. I think this would be perfect for fall. So excited about that. Okay, so I just moved. I had to turn on a light because it was getting kind of dark in here. I'm still working on my lighting situation and how to get that to look, you know, nice and natural, but we will do this for now. The next thing I want to talk about is what's on like my digital TBR. So mainly, let's start with Libby. So Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I have heard so many good things about this. I am very curious about what it is. I've got it on audiobook and I just started it. I'm like 10 minutes in. I'm very excited about this. I'm trying to finish up. Oh my God, I forgot 2 other TBR books. I'll just put them here, which is fine. I've got Bad Summer People and I've got One Italian Summer. So I'm between these 2 books and Part of Your World. I'm trying to like finish up my the summer books, the summer vibe, because once September hits, I'm going straight into fall. So yeah, I've got Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I've also got Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez on hold, and I've got, thought I had it, maybe I lost it. Did I lose it? Did I lose it for real? Okay, well I thought I had the other Abby Jimenez books on here. Anyway, I've got Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I think that's going to be more like a memoir. Verity by Colleen Hoover. We will see about that. I'm very hit or miss with Colleen Hoover. I really liked It Ends With Us. I really liked the movie. I really liked the discussion around that and the conversations and the fact that it's brought to screen. So I really liked that, even though there were some parts of it that I was like, I overall really like that story. I really, really do. But then I read Ugly Love and I was like, I can't handle this. So I think it's very hit or miss for me. So Verity, I'm curious to see if I'll like it. Another book is Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This is sort of a crime murder mystery. Somebody dies in the Chicago World's Fair. My mother wanted me to read this because she loves it. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I have really no idea what that's about as well. I just know it's very popular. Most people really like it, so that's on my list. And then I've got some Reilly Sager books that I need to catch up on. So I have not read his full catalog. So I've got Home Before Dark, Lock Every Door, and The Last Time I Lied. And then I also want to read What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. I've got The Princess Bride by William Goldman. That's just a classic. I've never read it. I've heard good things about it. Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. This just looks so cute. It looks so vibey. It just makes me think of Indiana Jones, which is some of my favorite stories, favorite movies. I've got Dead Tired by Kat Ailes. This is the sequel to The Expectant Detectives. I loved it. Murder mystery, humorous main character, mwah, like perfect. The writing is hilarious. Kat Ailes is, I believe, from the UK. She's got a British accent, so I'm assuming that's got to put her somewhere near that area. But her humor is exactly like how I imagine, just like UK humor. It's just, she's hilarious. Her writing is hilarious. I've also got Please Unsubscribe Thanks by Julio Vincent Gambudo. That's going to be more of like a self-help. How to take back our time, attention, and purpose in a world designed to bury us in bullshit. I've got Midnight Sun by Stephanie Myers. I read all of the Twilight series this year. I finished that up. And so I have one book left, and it's Midnight Sun, which I think is just Twilight from Edward's perspective, from what I understand. So I took a pause because I read them all back to back. I was like, okay, I need a break, but I'm going to pick that up and finish that. I've got Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, which I think will be perfect for the fall. Another book I want to read is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. That just looks really vibey as well for fall. It's going to be about fairies, I assume, and it's going to have all of the fantasy elements. And then I have Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Everybody has been like telling me to read this. I think this is supposed to be more of like space fantasy, like it takes like almost sci-fi, like it takes place in another planet kind of thing. Then I've got Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. That came out earlier this year. He is the writer of Crazy Rich Asians, so I really thought a good contemporary romance there. And then I've got The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That I have heard nothing but good things about. And that's it. I think that is really, I think that wraps up my TBR, all the books I want to read for the rest of the year. There's no way I'm going to read all of these in the next like 5 to 6 months, but that's like the big things that are on my list. I of course have another list on, you know, Goodreads of other stuff I want to read. Okay, there's like a couple more on Goodreads that aren't in the Libby app that I do want to read this year as well. Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I heard this is like a cult classic. Smutty. I think it's supposed to be super smutty. I think it takes place on like a winter planet. That I want to read in the winter time. And then Forever Never by Lucy Score. That takes place in winter, so I want to read that in winter time as well. That's a contemporary romance. And then The Winter King by C.L. Wilson. Just like the title itself gives off like a winter vibe. So those are like the books I want to read in winter, but I might do another video for like wintertime books. But yeah, I think that concludes it, guys. Like, this video is already so long, but I just wanted to share with you that my TBR has grown, like the physical TBR, the books I own. I have so many, I have to put an embargo on getting books. So there's that. And so you've seen all the books that I physically own that I have not read yet. And then the books that I also have like on my Libby app, the library app, and what I want to read there, as well as some other books that are on neither pile, but are just on my sites to read because I've been wanting to read them for a long time. So Let me know if you like this video. Let me know if you want me to do another video for like all the books I own, or like the books in my bookshelf, or maybe like my reading journey up until this point, okay, my camera just decided to turn off, so I'm gonna take that as a sign to wrap that up. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.